Hi, and welcome to day one of the Patience Pack. So, before I get into the technique and what we're going to be looking at over the next 10 days, I think it's really important to just reframe how we look at patience. I think there's the temptation, right, because we experience so much impatience in our life, we might think we need to try harder to perhaps develop patience. But from a meditation point of view, it's not really like that. Patience is an inherent part of the mind. It's with us all the time. We only miss it, or we only tend to notice it when we experience impatience. So, from a meditation point of view, it's more about letting go of impatience than it is about developing patience. Otherwise, we tend to end up with a mind which is always trying to ignore or resist the feelings or the thoughts as they are in that moment. So let's say impatience arises in the mind, and instead we think, no, I must be more patient. I must be more patient. Then all we're really doing is suppressing thought, or we're suppressing feeling. We're ignoring the mind as it is. And although that might work in the short term, in the long term, eventually our filter will break, and it's probably going to be quite ugly when it does. And suddenly we'll feel extremely impatient and we'll be unable to sort of hold that back. So it's really important as we go through life that we're not ignoring it, we're not wishing it away. Instead, we're clearly identifying it, acknowledging it, processing it, and letting it go. And that way we get to walk through life feeling a lot lighter. Now, we're going to use a technique over the next 10 days called noting. If you haven't done noting before, make sure you check out the noting video. But the idea of noting is that we create a bit of space between ourselves and our thoughts, ourselves and our feelings, so that when these things do arise in the mind, rather than becoming them, we're able to see them clearly, and in doing so, to let go of them. Of course, as always, I'm going to talk you through the exercise as we go. All you need to do right now is to get yourself set up in the usual way. Make sure you're sitting comfortably. And we're going to begin with the eyes open. So a nice soft focus, just aware of the space around you. And just maintaining that soft focus. Just take a couple of nice big deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next exhalation, just gently closing the eyes as you feel the weight of the body sink down. Just feeling the weight of the feet on the floor, the hands, the arms on the legs. And in closing the eyes, just being more aware of the other senses, in particular, noticing any sounds around you. Just taking a moment just to settle in to the space around you. And just bringing the attention now back to the body. Noticing how the body feels today. Perhaps noticing where there's a natural sense of patience or impatience in the body and the mind as you sit there. But just taking a moment to scan down through the body from head to toe. noticing what feels comfortable, what feels uncomfortable. You're not trying to change it, but just building up a picture of how the body feels. So as you move down towards the toes, just starting to notice the movement of breath in the body, that rising and falling sensation. So starting in a very general way, just noticing where in the body you feel the movement. If you can't feel the movement at all, just gently placing your hand on your stomach. We're just beginning to notice the rhythm without changing the rhythm in any way. Just noticing whether the breaths are long or short, deep or shallow. So as you continue to follow the breath in that way, if you like, just starting to count the breaths as they pass. If you find that easier, or you can just stay with the breath as it is. The main thing to remember in this part of the exercise is when you realize that the mind's wandered, just to identify that, acknowledge it. Oh yeah, it's thinking. And to come back to the breath again. It's very gentle, very steady. We just note it, let it go, whatever it was, and then bring the attention back to the breath again. So each time the mind wanders, in realizing it's wandered, not thinking about it, simply noting it, thinking, and coming back to the breath again. And now, just for a moment, letting go of that focus on the breath, letting go of any needing to label or note, just for a moment, just let your mind do whatever it wants to do. And in your own time, when you're ready, you can just gently open the eyes again. And before you get up, just take a moment. It's a really important part of the exercise to just pause, to notice how you feel. Notice how it's perhaps different than when you first sat down today. And just putting in that intention to maintain that awareness, to carry that awareness into your day today. This is a really important part of this exercise, because I think when we sit and meditate like this, it's the conditions are very favorable. They're very conducive to realizing this innate sense of patience in the mind. We don't have a lot of cause for impatience. But when we head into the day and we start meeting other people, interacting with other people, perhaps more difficult situations, then impatience is much more likely to arise in the mind. So we have to really be sort of very clear, in our mind, that we're able to identify it, to see it happening, to let it go. For now, don't worry too much about labeling, noting as patience, impatience, whatever it might be. Simply thinking is enough for now. And noticing as you go through the day just how often the mind tends to drift off into impatience. And if you can, try to find 3 1-minute sort of moments throughout the day where you just pause and you just practice this exercise, just realizing when the mind wanders, noting it, letting it go. And I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow for day 2.